I've recently turned 22 years old. Yay. But back when I was last year, I was 21 and I was living in Georgia. I was living in Atlanta. I was working on various TV shows and movies. I was part of different crews. And well, before that I was making this documentary series in New York. And then before that I'd be on sets with different things and different people, different projects. And a lot of the times I just found myself in places that young people don't really belong in. I found myself in places where for someone of my age to be in, you were a prodigy. You were sort of this, like, it was like this outlier, and it was this really impressive thing of like, oh my God, there's like a young bull here. Oh, so cool. And so I always, I guess, made little quips and jokes and references about the fact that I am so young and in a certain place in my career or a professional environment. Little quips, little jokes, and just to kind of date myself and to kind of refer to my young age in a sense and kind of make it into a humorous thing, I guess. And I'd make those little quips a lot. But sometime last year, we were unloading a truck with equipment and I worked in lighting, and we have generators and we fuel them up a lot, and so we have a lot of fuel that we bring. Well, not a lot, but we bring fuel for those generators when we do need to bring like little putt-putt generators. And we had extra fuel. And so we were unloading a truck on the rental house with all the equipment and lights that we rent. And I was there with the team, and there was extra fuel, like tanks of it. And our boss was like, hey, any of you want to fill up your cars? Because this was at the record high gas prices. Like, you want to fill up your cars, take the fuel. Like, we have extra fuel and we wrapped. We don't have anything to do with the fuel, so take it. You know, anyone fill up your cars, take the gas tank and fill it up. And so I went to fill up my car with it. I was like, oh, hold on, how do you know when it's done? Because normally at the pump, when it's done pumping gas into your car, it just kind of stops automatically. And I was like, well, how do you know when to stop and it doesn't like overflow and spill everywhere all over your car? And you're like, you've never like filled up your car with a gas tank before? And then I made a quip. I made a little joke about like, I don't know, like I'm kind of new to like, it's very new to me. Like I've never had the chance to do it. Like I'm new to life, something like that, some little quip, you know? And normally those quips kind of get a bit of a laugh, a little bit of a chuckle, you know? They're like a, you know, little acknowledgement of that. And it was silent. Like it wasn't silent, but it was just kind of brushed off what I said. And I felt a little bit ashamed. I'm like, oh, it's kind of weird, but all right, whatever. I'm gonna fill up my car. I took my gas tank and I was filling up my car. And as I was filling it up, I saw my reflection in my window. And at that point, I hadn't shaved my face in 3 months. I was in a really bad spot with, my health was declining, but my psychological state was at a terrible point. And I hadn't shaved. And so my beard was just like, I've never really gone growing out my beard, and so my beard was quite long, and I caught my reflection. I'm like, oh, I am a grown-ass man now. 21 years old. It's like there's no more milestones after 21 of signaling adulthood. 18 is like when you're legally an adult, and then 21 in the United States is like you're allowed to drink and gamble and smoke, but it's like a symbol of like you're now really an adult. Like 18 is like, yeah, you're an adult in the eyes of the law, but like you're still a kid. 21 is like, no, you're an adult now. And I was 21 and my beard was grown, but it hit me, it really struck me that I still saw myself as like a 17, 18-year-old kid who was highly accomplished for being in a place that most people of that age are not. And from that moment on, I was really taken aback, and my perception of myself started to really fall apart and change. I was no longer this young bull who was taking the world by storm and it's this like really awesome story. I was just another one of the men in the film set working, and I was just the new guy. It was like, it was such a shock to the senses, in a sense, that I was no longer special just by the virtue of my age and what I did with it. I was now just another guy. And that really, I don't know, but it did something. It took me a while to get used to that idea. It was almost like everything was crumbling around me. My entire identity was built around the fact that I was so special and this prodigy kind of thing. And, you know, I had talent and I was young, and now I'm no longer seen as a child. I'm no longer seen as a kid. I'm seen as a grown man. I've just turned 22. Yeah, it's quite strange. There's a lot that is going on in my life at the moment. Things that I'm trying to figure out the ways to share it. I'm not going to talk about much of it in this video. I am working on a video that summarizes 2022. I have this yearly tradition where I take all the footage that I recorded from the year and I compile it, and I try to tell the story of what happened to me in that year. The reason why this one's taking very long is because most of 2022 I was very ill, and my brain was like at half capacity, quarter capacity for a lot of it. And so I don't remember too much detail. A lot of it was in the hospital. A lot of it was at home recovering. A lot of it was here home sick before going to the hospital. And a lot of it was just kind of spiraling downward in illness when I was in Georgia, still finishing up a movie. And yeah, it's so there's a lot of patches of blankness in how I remember the year, and so I just have footage. And so I'm still working on a video, on the video. I've been editing it, and I've been trying to figure out what the story is. And the reason why I'm not in a rush to put it out, even though it's 2 months into 2023, is because the point of this videos isn't to just make something like, it's so that I can look back at them years in the future. Yeah, so in 2019 I made a video. It was when I got my first real job. I was making this really cool documentary. I was moving to New York City. All my dreams are coming true. Everything that I've ever wanted in my life was happening. It was ready to go. 2020 was a pandemic. It was when I lost my job. It was when I moved back to Miami, and I just decided, fuck it, I'm just gonna create some really cool stuff with friends. I made the music video, I made my short film, and I shared the story of that, and sort of coming to terms with taking opportunity and taking advantage of a bit of aimlessness, I guess, and sort of finding myself a little bit. And I was ready to start into something. 2021's recap video was going to Atlanta. It was going into a dead end in my life. Everything was falling apart. I was falling a bit more ill. And then sort of calling it and throwing in the towel and being like, all right, I cutting my losses in essence, and saying I've had it up to here. I'm getting more ill. I'm getting more tired and exhausted, and I'm getting out of this, and I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna do something amazing. 2022's video, which is what I'm currently editing, is a video about getting ready to explore and getting ready to go out into the world and say yes to every single opportunity, every impulse, to just say yes, to just do it, to not hold back, to not reserve yourself, and then only falling into extreme illness and hospitalization and, you know, expectations falling apart and being forced into a hiatus. And I'm still trying to figure out the story, because again, I was mentally checked out for most of the year. I was so sick. These stories are really important to me in recalling events in my life and my years. And so I don't want to rush this video out just because I need to make a video, but I want to make sure the video is good and that it summarizes 2022 and my life in 2022 in an accurate way that I can learn from. I can recount and look back on and remember the lessons that I learned from that year and keep them. You know, sometimes I watch the 2021 video and and it reminds me of the things that I learned from the hardships of that year. I watched the 2019 video and it reminds me of the lessons that I learned from when my dreams came true. At the 2020 video, it reminds me of the lessons I learned when chaos strikes and things kind of start to fall apart, that there's opportunity in that, of adventure and newness. I learn and I remind myself of those learnings by making these videos. And so I want to make sure that 2022 can provide the same amount of value to the future me that the other videos have. And that's why I'm not rushing it. And even though we're well into the new year, I'm still working on it. It's not really for anyone out there, it's really for me and to look back on. But yeah, now it's an interesting time in my life where I've grown up. I've accepted that my youth is really starting. My 20s are really starting. I'm only 22. But I've accepted that my childhood is gone forever. Even my teenage years and any semblance of childhood, any semblance. I never went to university. I went straight into working. And I went straight into working and building my career right out of high school. So any kind of college kid, student, the student phase, academic at least, that kind of kid, childhood, teenage time of my life is done. And I've gotten to a point where I've accepted that. And now I'm really learning what it means to be an adult. Something that I learned, or something that I'm starting to learn, is that it can really be whatever you want. Especially as an artist. You know, when you're an artist, you have such freedom of how you can live your life. And it's something that I want to explore more of this year. I've been too afraid to do the things that I've wanted to do in my life. And yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to explore this new chapter of my life. Now, I'm still quite ill. I'm waiting to get better. And once I do get better, I'll be doing a big move. I'll be doing a lot of interesting things, and I'm excited to be sharing that process along the way. I've been finishing up a series of scripts that I've been writing for over a year now. I've been working on a series that I'm very excited to talk more about and officially announce. But yeah, it's interesting when you finally accept that you are an adult. There's almost this death that happens. You feel like you die. And especially someone like me who's never really taken advantage of his youth. I've never really once felt like my own age. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to be a grown-up so bad, and I tried being a grown-up so all the time. And there's only maybe like a couple days spread out that I can remember and recall and being like, all right, I was acting my own age. I was a teenager for that day. Like that, I have maybe I can't even count them on one hand, the amount of memories that I have like that. And I've come to accept that I will never be able to do that again. Those memories and those opportunities are gone. I'll never be able to go to the high school football game with my friends and hang out and eat pizza, and you know, like I'll never be able to do that. I'll never be able to go to the prom, and I'm okay with that. But I'm now opening my eyes to the opportunities that lie ahead that I will miss out on if I don't take advantage of them. And there's more for me to think about on this, and I would love to share that more in future videos, and I will. But for now, it's just kind of an interesting space that my mind is in. And I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. Yeah, I don't really know where else to take this video, so thanks for listening if you did. I'll see you in the next video. They're gonna be so much more interesting, I promise. This is a really boring video. This is gonna be a much more interesting video coming up next. I'll see you then.